important to say about Rugby League. We'll have a quick chat now about the top 10 young players to look out for in Super League this year. Obviously the criteria being they have to be under 21 at the start of the season, basically qualify for the Young Player of the Year award. I'm sure we might have picked someone on here that's older. I'm sure you'll let us know in the comments if we have. You're very always quick to do that. I'll kick us off. My number 10, young lad at Warrington, Josh Thulis, full back. He's broke into the team. He played a couple of games for the Wire. Really strong, good offload. It crashes into the line. It's never going to hide. I think obviously he's going to do well to break into that position for the Wire this year with Ashton, Ratchford plays there as well. But I'll kick us off with him. Ben, do you want to go?
So at number 10 I've got Innes Senior from Huddersfield now. Obviously, is he twins with...
They are twins,
yeah. So
twins, Lewis and Innes.
Which one shall I go for? But I went for Innes because I think since breaking into the team, he's really stepped up and he's really started to almost show what he can do. I think he started off a bit slow and he's kind of been a bit in and out, hasn't he? But I think if he gets a consistent run of games, I really think he's got the potential to become something special.
I was going to go for Louis or Innes. I wasn't too sure myself because I think Huddersfield have got a real depth of young talent there. They've got so many young players coming through. They've got a brilliant youth system. But I've gone for a bit of a different one. Young lad from Catalan, Arthur Morgue, a young halfback from France. Really good prospect. Played a game last season. He played once for them. I think that was against Huddersfield actually. I'm not sure if he scored, but I think he definitely got 1 or 2 assists. Really looked good, really lively young player. He's not the biggest, and he's not necessarily the quickest either. But he's the way he reads the game is superb, and he's played a lot for their academy and really been a shining light in their academy side. So I've gone for Arthur Morgue. I think he'll really benefit from having the likes of James Maloney, Josh Drinkwater around him as well, learning off guys like that. Yeah. So he's a bit of an outside bet, but I think he's definitely one to look for the future. So he's my number 10.
Well, we'll start with your number 9 then.
My number 9, another halfback, one who's probably a bit more known to the UK audience is Harry Smith from Wigan. Again, a lad who's played a few games already. I think he made 1 or 2 appearances last season. Already been brought into the squad this year by Adrian Lamb. Started against who did they play the other night? Castleford. Sorry, started against Castleford the other night. And apparently didn't look too out of place either. Again, another really young, smart halfback. He played for the England Knights as well towards the end of last year, alongside Danny Richardson. I think it was in the halves. I think for me, and I think a lot of Wigan fans are of the same opinion, that Harry Smith is the future of their halves. He really is. When you've got the likes of Tommy Luluai, who's coming towards the twilight end of his career, guys like that, Smith is the one that is being tipped to step up next and partner someone like Jackson Hastings or maybe another young lad they've got there. But now Harry Smith's really a top prospect. He's led the Wigan Academy for years now. I think he's won 2 or 3 academy championships with them. His kicking game is impeccable. At times he can kick teams around the pitch. And I think he's a really exciting player to look out for.
Well, you talk about Harry Smith there. He started the game for Wigan the other night against Castleford. Eventually, by the end of that game, he was up against Jackson O'Neill from Castleford. Jake Truman went off. Jackson O'Neill came on, and he fitted in superbly into that Cast team, and he just wasn't phased. He came straight in, really confident player, not afraid to get his hands on the ball, good kicking game, and I think Danny Richardson's come in there at Castleford, and Danny Richardson isn't the oldest, and obviously Truman isn't neither, but I feel like he will get opportunities there at Castleford, and I feel like when he eventually does get a good run of games, he won't let anyone down, and he definitely has quality, and he definitely has a good future in the game, whether that's at Castleford or elsewhere. I'm not sure yet, but I think Darryl Powell showed a lot of faith in him by just chucking him straight in.
He's a bit of a utility as well.
Yeah.
He can play hook, or I think he's been used at loose forward in the off-season as well. And like you said, he played in the halves of the night as well.
Yeah,
so
he's kind of got that utility build about him, where he's strong, he's also athletic, and he's just got good vision of the game. So I think he's really going to be something special in the future, and maybe even this season if he gets a shot.
Yeah, well, my number 9, I've gone for sort of Hulky, Matthew Staunton. We've spent time on dual reg at Bradford last year, I think.
He was at Bradford last year.
Bradford. Sorry, He's obviously second row. I think it's harder for forwards, but the young forwards coming through, obviously, they're coming up against the big lads. It's, the backs get noticed, the young backs get noticed a lot more, and it's usually the big lads that are doing the work for them. This guy, I think he really will break through at Rovers this year. He's a decent prospect. He's really strong, handles the ball really well. So I've gone number 9, Matthew Staunton. I'll kick in for number 8. Connor Wynn at Hull FC, really, really fast, talented wing. I think he scored in the derby last year, didn't he, against Rovers? I think it's obviously there's really strong squad at the KCOM this year. I think he's going to do well to break through. He's done dual reg at Doncaster as well. That might be another route for him. But I'd love to see the young lads breaking through amongst the stars at the KCOM this year. I think it's some real tremendous talent to learn from. For my number 8, I've gone for Connor Wynn. I'll go for you, Ben.
So my number 8, I've gone for Lewis Dodd, who is at St Helens. Perhaps not really being given much of a shot yet, but I think it shows you just how much faith they've got in him at St Helens, that they were willing to let Danny Richardson go, knowing that if one of Lomax or Farge does get injured, they're willing to put him straight in a bit. Similar situation to Harry Smith at Wigan, really. And I mean, I'll be honest, I've not seen that much of Lewis Dodd, but when I have seen him, you can see why they have so much faith in him, because again, it's just that confidence, and he has that fearless nature about him, and he's not afraid to tell the more experienced guys, look, you need to be there, you need to be there. He's going to be a bit of an organiser in the future, and definitely a name that I think fans need to remember, because in 5-6 years time I think he could be very much a regular at a national level. To be honest, that's how good I think he is.
Well, I've gone for a prop forward for my number 8. The first I think we've mentioned so far. There are a couple that I had in mind, Jack Brown at Hull and Tom Holroyd at Leeds, who have both sort of broken onto the scene in the past year or two, had a couple of games for their respective clubs and really not looked out of place. I think in the props, often it's difficult for young players, at the sort of age of 19, 20 to break in because of the physical aspect. You're coming up against guys who have had 10 plus years in the game. Their bodies are primed and are sort of weathered to take that kind of contact, whereas at 19, 20, still quite raw, still quite fresh, and haven't had that impact training yet. But guys like that, and the guy I've actually gone for, which is Ethan Havard from Wigan, have all looked really good so far. I know Havard made his debut for Wigan last year. Big show of faith from Adrian Lamb, and he's come off the bench for their first 2 games this year as well, which I don't think many Wigan fans were expecting. I mean, you look at Wigan forward pack, like to Tony Clubb, Ben Flower, George Burgess, Ollie Partington, Joe Bullock. You can reel off several names, but Havard's clearly impressed Adrian Lamb enough to be put up with those other guys and kept the likes of Joe Greenwood, guys like that out of the team. So that in itself, keeping a guy like Joe Greenwood out of the team is no mean feat, and must tell something about this young Ethan Havard.
It's good to see Adrian Lamb following the Wigan tradition of building the young players. I mean, there's one team from amongst all others that brings the young lads through. It's Wigan, and obviously the coaches through Sean Wayne. They love blooding young talent. It's good to see that Adrian Lamb's going to carry that on. And we'll start number 7 with Ben.
So I've gone for a player you've already mentioned, which is Mike Staunton.
Yeah.
Now, I can't really add much more to what you've already said, but I think I was interviewing Tony Smith before the season even started, and I said, well, who out of everybody's really impressions stood out? Fully expecting him to say, I don't know, Sean Kenny-Darlington, one of the big name signings. He said, Mike Staunton. I said, pre-season in training, he's been the one that's really, caught the eye, the one, and I did a bit of research on him after that, and I couldn't believe how old he was. Well, this lad's going to have a big future, because how many players has Tony Smith managed and coached in his career, and if he has spotted somebody like that, such a young age, then I'm not doubting his ability to judge somebody, Tony Smith, and I can see Mike Staunton. Again, like I mentioned for Lewis Dodd and other players, I think he could really become like a key player for LKR this season, despite his age, and then eventually maybe even international honours. You just never know, do you?
I've gone for Jack Wellesby from Saints, again another fairly recognisable name. A young utility back. I think when he first came to my attention anyway, he was playing more of a loose forward or in the halves, but it seems as if he's transitioned to that full back position like a lot of halves do. And he's really excelled in that area. I know he played for the England youth team that beat the Australian schoolboys a couple of years ago and was a standout performer. Scored a couple of tries, really worked well with the likes of Harry Smith, who I already mentioned, guys like that. And now we're seeing him break into that St Helens team and having a bit more of a senior role, I guess. You know, we've talked about who Saints have lost. You mentioned Danny Richardson, Adam Swift as well. They've lost, so they've lost guys in that back line, and a trust in the likes of Jack Wellesby and players similar to step up and be those almost fringe players in a way. Not so much the youngsters that they were last year anymore, but they are considered fringe players and very much part of that first team squad. He's obviously had to start the first 2 games. I think he started the first game on the wing, shifted into the centre this year with the absence of Tommy Makinson, and then Lachlan Coote missing out as well meant that he moved to full back, where I think he really showed up well. And yeah, I think Jack Wellesby is he's a great prospect for the future. He really is. I think he's still only like 19, 20, I think I'm right in saying. And to have that utility value that he does, where he can play anywhere in that in that back line, anywhere, you know, he's got the handling ability to play in the halves or at full back. He's got the pace and the agility to play in the centres or on the wing. I think that gives him an extra bit of value, and he seems to be really maturing now that he's getting those first 2 games.
Where would you see his position being? Like obviously going forward.
I'm not sure, to be fair. I think it's one of those that he'll nail down a position and become accustomed to one more than others the older he gets. I think the way he is now, his age, he doesn't need to be worried about trying to solidify himself in one area. I think having that utility value will ultimately give him a chance to play more, which as a young lad is what you really need at this stage. So I don't think he needs to worry about that shit.
Well, number 7, I don't know if you're going to let me have this. Obviously, we mentioned Super League players. The guy I've gone for number 7 is Cameron Scott at FC Hull FC, but we all know he's gone off to Leigh on loan. But I did see him play for Leigh a few weeks ago. He looks a real talent, this guy. He's got tries on him for fun. He's got real pace. Obviously, we mentioned all before that they've got a real, they've got an array of talent. You mentioned Swift's gone there as well on the wing. I'd like to see the young guys being given more of a chance here. It's great that he's going to play every week for Leigh in the championship. I think he played for the Knights last year. He played
for the England youth.
Yeah, he played. He played York Knights. He played for York last year. I'd like to see these young lads, especially at Hull and other clubs, get a bit more of a chance. But obviously he's going to play every week for Leigh, and so if obviously he's a Super League player on loan to the Championship, and it's good to give the Championship a little bit of mention as well. So number 7, I've gone for Cameron Scott, and I'll let you go for number 6.
Number 6, again, a player that we've mentioned already, Mike Staunton, first clean sweep for us all. Undeniable talent. I think we've seen how he played in the first couple of rounds for KR. I don't think he really expected to be in that position, especially so early on in his Hull KR career. He was sort of in and out of the Bradford team a little bit last year. I know he played in their big win over Leeds, came off the bench, and he sort of developed this reputation as a bit of a super sub. You know, this young lad who was hungry for game time, good physical build on him, and John Kay could throw him on in the back row. And it seems as if he's going to do the same thing this year for Tony Smith. You know, you mentioned how impressed Smith's been with him. I don't think that comes as much a surprise to Bradford fans anyway, who know what this kid's work ethic and his work rate is like. But I think he has got all the makings to be a Super League star in the future. He really has. He doesn't seem like the kind of player who will get too big for his boots. He seems very humble, very keen to learn and just make his way slowly in the game and develop his own game and ability in time and not rush it too much. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Matty Staunton develops, especially over this season. I think he could become a real key part of that KR side, and then going forward as well, if he ends up, I guess, developing more of a senior role in their squad. But yeah, I've got Matty Staunton at 6, as I know you guys have mentioned him already.
Yeah. Have you mentioned Connor Wynne yet? Or?
I've got him in mind.
Have you?
I've not got Connor Wynne down.
It's not a clean sweep, but I've put him in as well. He's in at 6 for me. And I think one of the biggest disappointments, I think, when Hull started signing all these outside backs, that you're thinking, well, where do these young players go? And Connor Wynne is probably one of the names that was standing out when I was thinking this, because he came in and he was almost faultless, really, and he was just really talented. I remember watching him at his debut. I think it was in the Hull derby. And I just thought, that was a great run, and I didn't even know it was. And then I looked closely, and he had another great run, and then he was just composed at the back, and I was thinking, oh well, this lad's got a future. I wouldn't take him out of that team. So it did come as a bit of a surprise when they signed so many outside backs. So I just hope he can find a way to play this season and get some regular game time and develop. I think he'll probably be in the reserves quite a lot, but I mean, he's got a big future. I just hope he gets the opportunities, really. That's my only worry about that one. But if he does, I think he's going to be outstanding, because that's why I've got him at number 6.
Definitely. Well, at number 6 I've gone for Harry Smith, which you've already gone for Jack. Is he on your team, or...?
He's not, no. Not to give it away.
It's obviously, I think the Wigan fans love to see one of a young halfback coming through. The production line there is unbelievable. This is another. I think there's been a few in the last few years that have come through the system at Wigan that haven't quite look like the ones that are going to make it. But we'll see what happens with Shorrocks. But I think this guy, I watched him in a couple of friendlies, and he really looked like the star of the team. He looked like they were ready to build the team. I know he played on Friday, didn't look out of place, but he really does look like the star of the future. It looks like he's got the kicking game. He's good. He's got a lovely little. He's got the back out pass. He really does seem to have it all. I think they're really excited about him at Wigan. I mean, obviously, try not to put too much pressure on the lad, but he has to be in now. I've got him at number 6. So we'll go with our top 5 now, and we'll start with Ben.
Well, I've gone for a name a lot of people will know now. We're probably getting into that area where it's quite familiar names. I've gone for Harry Newman at Leeds. I think I thought about putting him a little bit higher up, but I almost feel, not that he's known by everyone yet, but I feel like he's almost already there, and we're doing players to watch, and I think people are already watching him, and I think you forget his age, and he still qualifies for this list, which shows you just what he's achieved in such a small space of time, and in such a disappointing season last season for Leeds. He was probably the standout. He was. I think he's just got it, and you watch a player, and he's just got that competitiveness in defence, and you look at him, he doesn't have the biggest of build, and you're trying to work out, well, how is he going to be good, but he just is. He's just a natural rugby league player. He's quick, he's evasive, and I think he's going to be part of that Leeds team probably the next 10 years, to be honest, in that centre position.
Definitely. I've gone for one of his teammates. I've gone for Jack Walker, who, again, I think it's, we all forget how young he really is. He's been on the scene for, I think it's fourth year now. He broke through in 2017. Played in that Leeds grand final winning team, which is crazy for a player of his age, at that time. But he really sort of typified. Again, you talk about how Wigan, love to see young players brought through. Leeds are no different.
They certainly do. Yeah.
We all talk about the golden generation, and Walker was perhaps one of the few players that we've seen in recent years that has come through in a similar way, in that he's been given that chance and really grabbed it with both hands. I think his running game's superb. I think one thing you always see with young players, especially young backs, is how they cope with it physically. Mm-hmm. Whether if you're talking about a fullback, whether when they're taking it back into the line after catching a kick, when they're running those kick returns, are they going to hit that line and be carried back 10-20 yards, or are they going to hold firm and take the tackle? And as soon as Walker started playing, he was the latter. He's got that upper body strength that to match the defenders that he's coming up against, and I thought that was really impressive straight from the off. That's without mentioning, I think, as well, in the past couple of years he's had in a bit of a passing game to his abilities. He's really improved in attack. Linking up with the half-backs and creating chances for those out wide. So I think, again, he's one of those players, as all of these players in the lists are, that have still got a lot of developing to do, and there are definitely areas of his game that he can improve. But as raw talents go, I think Jack Walker's really... He's
seen off some real talent as well.
He has,
There's some players kind of been shown the door, because basically this guy's going to be the fullback for as long as he wants to be, until the big guys come running in the NRL, no doubt. This guy's going to be there. I've gone for number 5. I'm sure we'll be hearing again in a bit, but I've gone for Morgan Smithies at Wigan. I've mentioned before, it's a lot harder for the young lads who are the forwards, because they're going in against big, experienced the big men up front, that they're smashing into them. I think obviously the similarities here are with Sutton, who went to the NRL from but we're going to come up. But I think this guy probably, as a young player, probably looks even more impressive than Sutton did. He's being as strong. His tackle count's just incredible when you see the amount of tackles he's making in games. He's really making an effort. So you can sometimes see the young forwards targeted by the more experienced guys. Well, I don't see anybody targeting Morgan Smith. So for me, he's in at number 5. He could be a lot higher. Obviously, we've got real talent in the sides now. We've got these players who are starting week in, week out for the clubs basically. So I've gone for him. We'll move on to number 4 now, and so I'll start us off. Someone that we already mentioned, Harry Newman at Leeds. Featherstone, was it Featherstone Reds last year? And this guy, you see a picture of him and you think, well, he doesn't seem to have any presence. He seems quite slender. He seems like a quiet guy. I don't know what he's like outside of rugby, but he's got a real presence on the field. I've never seen a young centre hit as hard as he can. And I think we mentioned Wigan, but some real talent coming through at Leeds. I don't think, I mentioned a few more guys later, I don't think it's any coincidence that these guys, with the golden generation, these guys have learned from them guys. And growing up as teenagers in the area, they've really looked up to them, and they've had these absolute superstars who have won everything as role models. And that's the other thing about the golden generation carried themselves so well. They were perfect role models for the city, for the young lads. And this is another guy that's going to benefit. So I'll start us off at number 4 with Harry Newman. I'll let you go, Ben.
So I've got Jack Wells, who I think you've already mentioned him. And I think it goes back to a similar conversation about the Lewis Dodd one, whereby Adam Swift's been let go because they know, like Tommy Makinson's out, Jack Wells will play. And it's just that trust, I guess. And you see at Hull with perhaps Connor Wynn might not get those chances. I feel like Jack Wellsby is going to get those chances at Saints, and rightly so, because he's never disappointed anyone when he's come into the side, and again he's just got it. You've got to have it to make it at St Helens or one of the big clubs, and he's definitely just got it. And I don't know whether it'll be this season, maybe next season, where he'll probably really come into his own if he's given more opportunities, and I see a big future for him. So I've put him in at, what are we on? 4?
Number 4.
He's 4. He nearly made the top 3, but you'll see why not soon. Stay tuned.
I've got someone I don't think you two have got, which is Oliver Wilson.
That's a good shout by
Oliver Wilson on Huddersfield. Again, superb young forward. England youth and England Knights representative. Really good coup for them. They picked up from Bradford, I think it was last season. Again, that Bradford production line producing really good forwards and really good players. So I think he's coming to his own a bit under Simon Woolford. There's him and there is Matty English for them. They're known as the 2 polar bears, I think, among the Giants fans for obvious reasons. 2 big, physical young lads who are really sort of the future of their forward pack. I think that's one thing with Huddersfield that you notice is their squad at the minute is sort of built for the next 5 years. They've got so many young lads that are already big presences in that first team. And Wilson, and I know I've mentioned him English, I think he's a couple of years over the 20-year-old sort of threshold. But those 2 in a forward pack wouldn't go amiss in some of the top Super League sides. We've seen this sort of trend recently of clubs, especially the bigger clubs. You look at Saints, who are they've got a couple of experienced forwards, but they're focusing on developing a really young pack. They've got the likes of Matty Lees, Jack Ashworth, guys like that. Wigan, like I mentioned, have got Partington.
They've got Bullock from Swinton as well.
Bullock from Swinton. Leeds are back in Mikolaj Ledsky. And Huddersfield are now, they've got English and they've got Oliver Wilson. And having seen those guys play, it really sort of strikes into you how different the modern day prop forward is, and how they're now developing into these players that aren't so much as these massive wrecking balls anymore. They're really mobile, good on the feet, got a great late step at the line, got good handling ability, to then be able to play alongside the halfbacks. And I just think Wilson typifies that sort of new modern day player, and I really wouldn't be surprised if in a few years' time we see him playing for England, a really mobile England forward pack. And I know he might struggle this year. He's up against a fair few big forwards. They've recruited well they've got James Gavitt from from New Zealand. They've got Suai Matangi in there as well. They've got a couple of experienced forwards, but Wilson's going to mix it with the best of them.
It's the same at Huddersfield. They seem to be building a really strong youth side, don't they? I don't know whether that's come from the coach or the backroom staff, but I haven't really seen that at Huddersfield in the past. But like you say, they do seem to be looking to the future. Well, we're into the top three now. I'll let Ben kick us off.
So at 3 I've got Jack Walker, who has already been mentioned. I mean, for obvious reasons. You've already said about the 2017 Grand Final when he's won a Grand Final, and that year he really came into his own. And just been thinking about how unlucky Ashton Golding was, really, because he's a terrific player, he's Ashton Golding, and I think Leeds actually gave him a long-term deal, and then literally months later this young lad, Jack Walker, comes out of nowhere, this spotty little teenager, comes onto a pitch like a little stick man.
Unbelievable.
He was,
unbelievable.
Yeah, he almost reminded me a bit of Billy Slater when he first came in.
I know what you mean. He's got the step and the agility.
He's just got everything now. Let's be brilliant.
I don't want to put that jinx on him like Phil Clark compared to Greg Edens and Billy Slater. But no, I think Jack Walker's got it, and it's like I say, it's just that step, and he's come and he's learned from the back end of that golden generation coming now, and I think almost Leeds' struggles have hampered him a little bit.
Yeah,
and
I'd agree.
You would, if he'd have been in a better side, you would be hearing a lot more of him if Leeds were challenging in those top 2-3 places like they have been down the years.
Well, I'll go straight, and I've got him as number 3 as well. Another thing I was saying about that is, usually when teams are struggling, they take the young lads out to put the experienced guys in. Leeds doesn't really do that with. I mean, there isn't a better guy in there for Leeds to put in than what Jack Walker is. I mean, obviously you guys have waxed lyrical about him. There's not really much more I can say other than the guy just looks. You wouldn't spot him as a rugby player if you saw him in the street, but you certainly do when he's got the ball in his hands, and obviously under the high ball he's faultless.
Unreal.
So I've got him number 3. We're in.
I've still got my number 3. I've gone for Harry Newman, who you guys have both mentioned. I've put him up at number 3. I think, again, I know I've used this word a lot, but as raw talents go, he's again a superb talent. I remember a couple of years ago, just before he broke into the Leeds side, the Rhinos had a friendly against Coventry down at the Butts Park Arena. In the Midlands, and the hub of rugby league.
Yeah, definitely.
And they sent a young team down with it. I think there were a couple of sort of less experienced first teamers in there, and Newman was in the left centre, and you just saw this kid. I think he must have been 17, 18 at the time, but the physical presence he had up against the Coventry team, who players that were obviously much older, more experienced than him. He just had this edge. This pace, the strength, the power. He made so many breaks that night. I think he scored a hat-trick in the end, and you could just feel among the crowd, especially the Leeds fans and staff that were there, this kid is the next big thing, and he's in the process of proving it at the minute. Again, he's a player that's still got some developing to do. I think in terms of the way sometimes the way he reads the game, his defensive reads are a bit sketchy now and again, but stuff like that will come with time and experience, and the more he plays, the better he'll get in those areas. But he's got everything as a raw talent. He really has. He's got the pace, the strength, the power, the handling, and I'm really excited again to see what he does in the next few years.
Absolutely, it's great to talk about these young lads. I'll go in with number 2. The player we talked about, Jack Wellsby. I've got him at number 2. I see utility. I don't want to see him go down the route. It's okay for now getting in the side. Obviously, he's covering for players that are missing. But I'd really like to see this. To be honest with you, I think he's a half. I'd love to see this guy by the end. Maybe it's after the next World Cup to tie this role down at St Helens, playing in the half.
We look at Johnny Lomax, for example.
Yeah.
He when he first broke in at Saints, he played full-back for the academy, played in the halves for Saints, then moved to full-back again. I think he had a spell where he played centre or wing a couple of games not too long ago. So I think Wellby's following that mold.
Yeah. And now obviously Lomax is probably for me the best half-back in Super League. So I really like. I really like this guy. It's great to see that it's another guy getting a chance at a club that are doing really well. Obviously he's learning from that Saints team over the last few years. players. I mean, it's like the gold generation. At least you want to learn from guys like that. And this guy's gonna. I mean, he's gonna learn so much from them. And I just, it's great to see him where it's centres on the wing. It's great to see the young lads playing. But I just like the next couple of years. I'd really like to see this guy just nail down one and a half back spots at Saints. So I've got a number 2. We'll go with you, Ben.
I've gone for Jake Truman now. Obviously a former Super League Young Player of the Year. I presume he's in your teams as well. And it's really, again, another player who you forget how old he is just because he feels like he's been around a while, but he's still 20 years old and he's got the experience now of a 25, 26-year-old, and that can only be a good thing for both Castleford and for England in the future, where I think he will end up playing regularly. It's just that fearlessness of just coming into the team in arguably the most important role on the pitch from the half-back roles and just taking charge, superb kicking game, just a good runner with the ball and just a key player at such a young age of that Castleford team, and Darryl Powell's seen that, and it's just really exciting now to see how that partnership with Danny Richardson will go this season, and judging by the first few games I think it's going to be a good one.
I've gone Morgan Smithies, who I know Paul's already mentioned. I'd imagine he's probably... Is he your number 1?
No.
Possibly.
We'll have to see.
Again, just a brilliant young physical talent. We've already talked about the forwards and how difficult it can be for youngsters. But he's shown none of that. As soon as he came into that Wigan side, he fitted in straight away. I know a lot of people talked about him in that Sean O'Loughlin type mould. Not afraid to get in there, in both the attacking and defensive duties. I mean, we saw what was the record he broke towards the end of last season, about 70 odd tackles in a game, wasn't it? Something like that. Yes, and from someone who was in their debut season at 18 years of age, that's some achievement of that. So again, he's another player that is only going to go from strength to strength the more games he plays. He's clearly going to have a bigger role in the Wigan side this season. And it's perfect for them as well, with Sean O'Loughlin retiring at the end of the season. To have someone like Morgan Smithies, a ready-made replacement already, is spot on. So Morgan Smithies at 2 for me. And
I'll let you go first, number 1.
Number 1, Jake Truman. Like Ben mentioned, I think it was close between him and Smithies, but I think Truman's prior experience in the Super League and the fact that he's into his 3rd or 4th season now as a regular first teamer, I think gives him a bit of an edge. Like you mentioned, he's got that maturity about him, despite being such a young half-back. And another product of Bradford as well, I think we should mention. Joining like Wilson and like Staunton. But yeah, I think he's just, since he broke onto the scene, he's been a superb player for Castleford, and someone that Darryl Powell can rely on in those big moments, again, despite being such a young player. I think one thing as well that's probably a bit understated is the coaches that Truman's worked with. You obviously look at Castleford, they've got Darryl Powell, Ryan Sheridan, Danny Orr, all former half-backs. I was talking to Danny Richardson before the season, and he was saying that was one big draw for him to go to Castleford, is working with those guys, because I think you look at what they've done with someone like Truman, who was a bit of a raw talent, coming to Castleford, and they've turned him into, he was nearly a Great Britain international, wasn't he?
Yeah. It's not going to be long if he's not now.
No, exactly. But yeah, superb talent. Again, like you said, former Young Player of the Year, and I won't be surprised if he did it again this year.
Yeah, I've got in mind number 1. Like I said, again, we talk about learning from the top guys. Obviously, Luke Gale as well. He'll learn a lot from him.
Exactly.
When he was playing really well for Castleford, it's exactly the same what you guys have said. You can't really believe how young he still is. No. He's got everything, and I mean, he's now one of the top. I mean, Castleford are a lot for the playoffs. I've said that before. They're one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country, comfortably, and this guy's probably their best player, and he's marshalling them around the field now. He's going to be calling the shots for Castleford, and it's just truly unbelievable how he's learned so much at this age. So yeah, he's my number 1. I'm really looking forward to seeing him, and I really hope he gets in that England squad for the World Cup next year. He certainly deserves it. But we are packed with talent, but we're quite lucky. I think all them areas, but I'd love to see him at least grab a spot in the squad. It'd be amazing if he could actually start one of the games. But yeah, he's number 1 for me, and we'll finish with you, Ben.
So number 1, I've got Gareth Ellis. I've gone for Morgan Smithies, unsurprisingly. Just what you were saying then just made me think about a conversation me and Jack were having about him potentially making that England team for the Ashes. I'm not sure yet whether it's too. There's a lot. He's got a chance, but there's just a lot of competition in them forward positions. I think he might make it for the World Cup though with another season. I think he'll become too hard to ignore for internationals. But saying that now, Sean Wayne's there. He'll know him and might be tempted to put him in, but the best way you can kind of describe Morgan Smithies is he's like a bit of a combination of Sean O'Loughlin and John Bateman. He's just got that
that rough edge, but that sort of finesse about him as well. Yeah, I'd agree.
And I mean, when you're combining them two players together, you've got one hell of a player, and this young lad's only just starting out, so what is he going to be like in a few years' time? But he's the reigning young player of the year, and it won't surprise me if he won it again this year, to be honest. So. Yeah, for me, he's the best young player in Super League at the moment.
Any players that we've missed out they think we might be unlucky to get in there?
I think there's plenty. I tried to write down a short list and ended up with about 30 or 40 players, but I think Callum McClelland at Leeds is one. If he gets a chance, I know he's got 3 half-backs in front of him, but if he gets a chance then he could be superb. Joe Summers, young forward at Cass. Dom Young, really athletic winger at Huddersfield. Owen Trout, Huddersfield as well.
Huddersfield again, it's just amazing, isn't it?
We saw Owen Trout did a little bit at Leeds last year, and really big sort of rangy back rower. And we've not mentioned Wakefield yet, but they've got a young half turned loose forward called Connor Bailey coming through, who I think was named in their 21-man squad last week. So he's another talent to look out for. Down there, so plenty of names.
Yeah, it shows that fair play to the clubs who are developing these talents. It's great to see the young lads come through, and it's a brilliant topic to talk about. I'm sure we've missed loads of guys that you guys could mention, so you can tell us in the comments. That's not a problem. Who you would put there for your club, and obviously the rivals as well. But like I said, we're gonna move on now. Keep liking and subscribing the page, and we'll send you more of these videos. See you later.